seeing as though I just had my first win against a lobby of A and A plus drivers, I just wanted to watch this replay and kind of give a commentary about how the race went. So I'm pretty proud of how this played out. Obviously, I've been playing for a couple of months now, and I've had about 23, 24 race wins. Kind of about half of those came in the lower ranked lobbies as I was making my way up through the game, and then kind of most of the wins on this back half have been in races where when your SR drops, you tend to get put into some weaker lobbies, and maybe there's a few B or A class drivers there, but it's a lot easier because it's a much just weaker field overall. So as you can see here, I'm starting fourth on the grid. The three drivers ahead of me are all A plus drivers, and I think this guy behind me is also an A plus, the Italian in the yellow Ferrari. So I'm driving the Peugeot in Group 4 on Sardegna road track reverse, and here we go. Let's watch how things played out. I'm just going to pause this and just double check that my microphone is working. Settings. The microphone, yeah, okay, cool. So I think that should be working, and if it's not, well, I'll just be talking to myself for the next 10 minutes or so. Alright, so you see we get underway, and it's always a little bit tricky this first corner, depending on how quickly you catch the car in front, and the Peugeot has probably the best top speed in Group 4, so you do quickly catch up, but in this case it was no problem. The three ahead of me got a pretty good start. This the GTR, he defended the inside line a little bit too much, and that pushed me out wide, and so I had this Ferrari behind me, but he luckily pulled back into position, and we will go through here single file as you need to. And so that first corner is usually pretty clean, and then it's the second one which can be a bit tricky because you need to turn and brake at the same time, and as you see I got a tap from behind there which ping-balled me into the GTR. But fortunately we all got through there pretty cleanly, except the guy at the front who has a 1 second penalty for some reason. And unfortunately the penalty zone here is in a really, really unfortunate position. And you'll see what I mean in about 30 seconds time, where the car serving the penalty just kind of ends up going much slower than everyone else, right in the middle of a single file quick S section, leading into another one of these complicated corners where you're having to turn and kind of brake at the same time. So as you'll see here, the two up ahead, they go through, and it's pretty difficult to pass on this track, so I decide I'm just going to squeeze through there. Luckily, he gave me space, and we managed to just about get through there with just a little bit of a touch. So, good first lap. We're up into third place already, and as you can see, it's quite a tight group. Seven drivers all within a couple of seconds of each other. So, we go around here this lap. Let's see what happens. We go through that okay. So this lap is fairly uneventful, so we'll just skip ahead. As you can see, we're all pretty bunched up, but the top 5 are starting to pull away a little bit. The Peugeot is always so weak through this final section, I find. Just getting its strength is straight line speed, but its weakness is trying to accelerate while turning. And you have that slow left-right-hander just after the timing beam, and it's so difficult to get the power on there and get around those corners, and the rear-wheel drives just get such better traction. And so I think you'll see here, the GTR just had a little touch of the wall, and this causes him to brake really early, and I have to send it up the inside in order to not run into him. But I managed to get through there really clean. I think he had just a little bit of a flash of the lights there, but what am I supposed to do? If I had broken, then I probably would have got hit from behind and then been pinballed into him. So I think I was right to go for the move then. And this pushes us up into second place. And as you can see, the Ferrari here runs a little bit wide, but I didn't have the best corner myself. The GTR is still flashing his lights. I'm really not sure why he was so upset. I didn't run into him, and I didn't push him out wide on the exit, so I think it was a pretty legitimate pass. Nonetheless, we'll continue on, and as you see, the Ferrari is a little bit wobbly through here. I take a fairly clean line and stay up with him. Now, this corner up here is the one I've been struggling for. Kind of finding the braking point is difficult, but in this race I was really hooking it up most laps. And it's kind of funny how sometimes you'll jump on and you'll do a race and you're just really in the zone and really hitting all the braking, the braking zones and hitting all the apexes right on the money. And then other races you'll do where you just really struggle to make it through the corners with any sort of pace. But I think here we set the fastest lap of the race, say below 50, 50.088, so that's the fastest lap I've done in a race during this week. Haven't unfortunately gotten into the 49s other than in time trial, but I think with the RCZ, because the tyres tend to go off towards the end of the race so much, it's difficult to set too much of a quick time, just because you really have to get your fast laps out of the way early in the race. And you'll see here, we've gotten a nice little gap here to 3 and 4, but they'll quickly catch up, and especially because I run a little bit wide there, and this hooks the Ferrari back onto my slipstream, and it's really difficult to get away from anyone in this track because you have these two really long straights, and especially for the Peugeot, even though it is such a good car in a straight line, it just really struggles on the traction. And yeah, I've really had a hard time getting out of people's slipstreams here. So let's maybe skip ahead a little bit, see what comes up next. So we're right on the tail of this Ferrari here. We're in a bit of a yellow Ferrari sandwich actually. Got the Italian behind me, the Spaniard up ahead, and we have a little look there at the inside. It's not really me going for a pass, just trying to get through there as cleanly as possible without running into the back of him. So we're halfway through the race actually, at lap 5. Let's see, the guy up ahead, he's done a 50.6. Okay, so this guy did a 49.8, he's now got the fastest lap, 49.7 actually. So these A+ drivers were definitely had better pace than what I did, and this guy at the front seems to be struggling a little bit more. So if we check the tyres, he's doing pretty good. You can see my fronts are starting to go. This is a front wheel drive, so the fronts on the Peugeot are the ones to go. So get up in the slipstream here and think about having a little bit of a sand, a little bit of a tap there, and that sends him wide, and I'm able to duck up the inside. And so let's switch to theatrical cam here. Now, I know from experience of going around these corners, you really need to park it on the two apexes to not allow these rear-wheel drives to get a run-up on you as you're kind of exiting the traction zone of that second corner. You have to be so defensive driving the Peugeot, or at least I have to. I'm just too slow for that part of the track. But now we're up into the lead. We have 5 laps to go as we cross the beam here, and now I have to spend 5 laps defending from these 3 much quicker drivers in their Ferraris, which are going to have much better tyre wear in the second half of the race. So at this point, we just really want to hook up all of the braking zones. Not run wide, not brake too deep. Get the apexes, and yeah, just on those problematic corners, just sit on the apex, not to allow them to have any sort of run out of the corner. You know, dictate their corner exit, so that they're only exiting from the corner as slow as I know. That's a nice camera view though. So we'll ride with this a little bit longer, and then we might skip up ahead towards the end. Just the graphics on this game just look so good. I've been playing a little bit of Assetto Corsa Competizione the last few days, and just jumping from that into this, it's just amazing how much better this game looks and how much smoother it looks. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get a force feedback setting for my Logitech G29 and Assetto Corsa, which allows me to drive the cars there with any sort of enjoyable feeling, and so it's been a real struggle to play that game. But it's good to come back to Gran Turismo, where I'm much more comfortable and familiar. Oh, made the Ferrari go off there. Rip. So I guess that's what happened to that guy. Not really sure why that happened. But coming back up again, and we have the top-rated driver now up behind me, the Spaniard here, Fernando. Let's see if he's going to have a go up there. Kind of just put my car in the middle of the track here, make him really have to commit to either the inside or the outside. Again, just making sure I get a very clean exit. Not to run wide up onto that concrete too much, not to allow them to slip up the inside, and get the inside run into that quick right-hander. And when you have a car behind you which is much better on the tyres and much quicker into this corner, you're just always so afraid that they're going to run into the back of you, going through that slow hairpin there. It's a really tricky corner for me. We'll skip ahead a little bit now. I think I had a little bit of a poor exit. Let's see. So he's right up on my gearbox there, and he pulls out of the slipstream. I mean, he didn't really have much choice because he was so much quicker on the exit than what I was. But that means he doesn't have my slipstream as we're coming down the straight, and you'll see that the Peugeot is just going to pull away. So a little dab on the brakes to get the rotation into this corner. And again, gonna get turned in nicely, get up onto the apex, not run too much wide, and yeah, just pull away into this corner here, the right-hander, little lift there, hit the apex, get nicely onto the power early, just go through this nice flowing section, a little lift here, and we get on the brakes, and get turned into the corner. Again, get it right onto the apex, get it turned around, and again, because he's much quicker out of the corner, he has to pull out of the slipstream straight away, and this just allows the Peugeot to take full advantage of its straight line speed. So we're going to come into this corner. This is always a little bit worrisome as you start to get later in the race, again, because you need to brake a little bit earlier just to get turned in there. The rear-wheel drive cars just to get around that corner a little bit better, I found. And again here, we're going to get it hooked up onto the apex. Make sure that you can't duck them to the inside there. And you'll see just for these next couple of laps, they're always just right there, right behind me. There's absolutely no rest. Have to drive very, not so much defensively, but just, you know, make sure we don't make any mistakes, not to brake too late into a corner and run deep. So we're just taking the inside line there, making sure you can't get onto the inside. If any of you have done this daily race, you'll know that inside line there just wins the day. If you're on the outside, you end up in the barrier of death, and it's off to the shadow realm for you, as Super GT would say. Now, I've got these three guys right up behind me. Any sort of mistake, and we're going to drop down probably to P4, maybe even P5 if you know I break a little bit too early and they hit me off into the gravel. So just have to be super careful. So we run a little bit deep there, but he doesn't get the best exit, and we're going to run side by side down through these corners. But again, the Peugeot just has kind of the better drive in the mid-range and the top speed here than what the Ferrari does, and so even if he has a little bit of better traction coming out of the corner with a quicker corner exit, I'm always able to make sure that I stay ahead going into the next corner. So let's maybe ride on board with the Ferrari, see how it is for him. So he'll actually get pushed a little bit there by his friend in the Ferrari. They're battling, which fortunately he gets a pinball effect there and actually speeds him up. So he'll stay with me here through these corners. Yeah, they kind of have a little battle there and end up hitting each other. And, that allows me to get clear, and they're actually 3 abreast. Oh, 5-second penalty for... what was it? Gran missing. That's not from Great Britain. Oh, we're going into the wall? Yep, rip. Okay, it all fell apart for them there. But it looks like the Italian, he got a little bit of luck out of that situation. So he's going to be chasing me for this last lap, and let's ride on board with him and see what progress he can make. So you see we missed the apex a little bit there, but it's okay because he didn't have his cleanest run through there either. And now we're going to go defensive kind of for the first time into this corner, this race. He thinks about a dive up the inside, but he runs wide, gets out onto the marbles. But you see, just at this point in the race, I just have no kind of traction, and he very, very quickly makes up the ground that he lost. And so he's taking a look everywhere, and he's actually going to go too deep here. He gets on the grass, and look how close that was. Almost hitting me off. So now it's a drag to the line, and once again, straight line speed of the Peugeot wins the day. So let's just have a quick look at how close this was. So he gets on the grass, and ooh, very close. Just one more look. Almost death. So yeah, that's how the race went, and it was my first win. I knew I was slower than the 3 guys behind me. They definitely had the advantage, but we managed to stay ahead of them. I think I was clean and fair. It was a good race. So yeah, hope you enjoyed watching. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to actually turn off the stream now. Uh, hmm. Mm-hmm. Broadcast setting. Yeah, okay. Stop broadcasting.